Hey guys, I want to keep talking about the thing that I spoke about yesterday, kind of. When Stephen Fry was going after God with the made-up parasites. I think this is something that deserves to be looked at a little bit closely. There is this blog that is very informative, and I'm gonna read some parts of it to you. I'm not sure there is such an insect. In point of fact, there is a range of ocular parasites, but they are mostly fungi or nematodes rather than insects, and don't eat the eyes of their host. Some of them seem to infest children or young adults disproportionately, but that's not the same as their life cycle depending on human children. So kids probably play in places they shouldn't or something like that. That's what I'm getting from this. What Mr. Fry probably had in mind is river blindness, an affliction widespread in some African countries, and which rather famously was the reason David Attenborough gave for not believing in God. I want you to remember this. This is something that I'm going to talk about more. Once again, the cause of the disease is a worm rather than an insect, although insects spread it. Still, although human beings are the worm's definitive host, it does not particularly afflict children. And only a minority of people who are infested end up having ocular problems, since the worms can inhabit other areas of the body too. Nor does it eat its way out through the eyes. Instead, the blindness is caused by the scarring to the eye tissue brought about by the body's reaction to the bacteria released by immature worms when they die. Mr. Fry is also, I expect, half recalling the reason that other great naturalist Charles Darwin gave for not believing in God. So like David Attenborough, the ichneumon wasp. It lays its eggs in caterpillars, and the larvae do indeed eat their way out of their hosts. Ichneumon wasps don't bother human beings though. So this is important. You notice how Stephen Fry is like taking from, factoids, and he's mixing them up in a way that's not true anymore. This wasp that he's really thinking about, it doesn't even bother human beings. This is just what insects do. But let's keep reading. Put all these elements together and you get an insect whose life cycle depends on burrowing into children's eyes and then eats its way out of them, which is great rhetorical device but doesn't exist. And this is kind of important if your case is, you're attacking God. At least make the thing exist. You're blaming God for creating something that you made up. How's that for an argument, man? A Gothic trope, a testament to our horror at the idea of being consumed from within. So this is what he came up with. And now we are revealed, in this blog post, this guy basically, he really nails it. It's a QI fact. QI is the show that Stephen Fry was in. I've watched some episodes, it's very funny. It's a QI fact, something you think you've heard somewhere, but it is really invented from bits and pieces of other things which are true. So I want to talk about David Attenborough denying God, and after that I want to talk about Charles Darwin denying God. Well, I actually kind of did already. Like, he denied God because there's an insect that does nasty things to an insect. As if that is enough to go after God. Insects, those things that we fumigate when they are, invading, the things that we step on. Oh, what a great injustice it is for an insect to eat another insect. What do you think? Do you think on the day of resurrection the insect will, wage war against God because something like this happened? No, that belongs in the insect realm. It does not, however, belong on the human realm, those kinds of things. And that's why this wasp doesn't bother humans. Now, as for this river blindness, an affliction widespread in some African countries, and which rather famously was the reason David Attenborough gave for not believing in God, the cause is a worm rather than an insect. This is an example of a man judging God when he is the one who has the splinter in his eye. Except this is not a splinter, this is a worm. David Attenborough, when he judges God, is judged by God in the same way. The worm, or the parasite as I call it, is Great Britain in David Attenborough's eye. If you know that there are like these worms that are troublesome to people, you know, like diseases or parasites that get into places they shouldn't or something like that, you deal with them as a human being. You have the ability to do it, right? This is what I mean, that David Attenborough has the parasite that is Great Britain in his eye. He's blinded by it, and he blames God for it. But it's in his eye. I said that parasites exist so that Great Britain could exist because it has been like a parasite of nations, right? If parasites didn't exist, if that was something that God didn't allow, then God could not have allowed Great Britain to do the things it did, and we would not have the Big Ben and stuff like that. Like, that's basically what I said. I'm so bad at love. Like, that's what I'm getting at with the big red bushes and Big Ben and, you know, fish and chips or whatever it is that's lovely about Great Britain. I don't know. I've never been in the country. I don't know those people. I have like one friend there that has helped me a lot. So that's nice. But he's not even originally from Great Britain, so You understand what I'm saying? The parasite exists so that Great Britain could exist, and there's, you know, love and punishment even, you know, waiting for them. All these great things that's gonna happen when these imbeciles get actually told by the children of God to go and deal with the river blindness. You hypocrite. Like, there's gonna be so much, like, it's stacking up, the kingdom of God. It's gonna be a feast. And I was accused of whataboutism because, you know, they're unrelated. But they are not unrelated, that's my point. Finally, in this video, I get to the point that I wanted to make in this video after like 7-8 minutes. I just think it's so important. Like, it's like you have to start from square one every time you want to talk about God. Because people just have no idea. It's like you're describing colors to people who live in a black and white world. Let me try to put this in other ways. Like, I really wonder if people are able to keep up with this. I'm not that smart, but I believe in God, so I think like this. For man who is biological to be capable of parasitism, is that how you say it?
Parasitism.
There has to exist a parasite in the biological form, right? Because if the parasite was not something that life was capable of producing, then man, who is also part of life, could not be capable of producing it. We cannot create something that is unnatural in ourselves. It has to exist in creation. It has to be created. It has to exist. That's what I'm saying. So it's not whataboutism to say that parasites that might be harmful to people, even children, had to have existed so that Great Britain, with its parasitic form, could exist. And it has existed in that sense in the world as a nation because of the thing I described with the famine. They were siphoning food out of a country while there was a famine, and they said that it's not right for them to interfere with the natural course of it, but they were already interfering. Like, imagine you have a parasite and it's slowly killing you or giving you disease, and it's telling you, well, it's not right for me to interfere with the disease when it's the one causing it. So this is like parasite behavior on a nation level. It could not have existed if parasite behavior wasn't allowed to exist by God. Therefore, the parasite has to exist. I don't finish my thoughts. I leave it like open like this because you are the one who is supposed to understand what comes next. And why is it so important then that Great Britain exists? Well, so we get men like Stephen Fry, David Attenborough. You've seen his nature documentaries. He has a really great voice. We love that. We don't love everything about him, especially his blindness. But God decided that Great Britain is allowed to exist. You know, God loved the world so much that he sent his only son. You understand? Love is the reason. But there is also this prison from which there is no escape until every little bit is paid. And that means that many nations will be like prisons for a while in the kingdom of God. The new earth, when the kingdom of God comes here. That's what I mean.